20th to 2014. And I'd like to call the meeting to order. It's exactly 6:30 and 53 seconds. Okay. If everyone will rise and face the flag. And Mr. Mondesir, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May we have a roll call, please? Here. Excuse me?
Mr. Haber.
Mr. Haber had to leave, so he's excused. He's very sick, and he could keep it to himself.
Hopefully.
Present.
Here.
Here.
Yes. All right. And Mr. Lebrun, I'm trying to say it the French way. If you would please make the announcement
Yes,
for the
good-
audience.
yes.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members, chairperson of the board, and then all applicants here present tonight. Please keep in mind that those are quasi-judicial items that may either be approved, denied, or approved with conditions. When the petition is announced, the applicant shall approach the microphone and state his or her name and address for the record. Please be advised that the following items on the agenda are quasi-judicial in nature. If you wish to comment upon any of these items, please indicate your interest to address the board when the announcement regarding the quasi-judicial item is made. An opportunity for persons to speak on each item will be made available after the applicant and city staff have made their presentations on each item. Please speak directly into the microphone and state your name and address for the record and your comments to the board. Thank you.
Okay, and since it is quasi-judicial, I will ask our city attorney to, deputy city attorney to administer the oath.
Anyone desiring to speak this evening on any one item, please stand and raise your right hand. Anyone? Any speakers? Including
Everybody.
applicants.
Including the applicants.
Stand and please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. You may be seated.
Very good. Any amendments to the agenda? None? Okay. May I have a motion for approval of the minutes of June 18?
Motion to approve.
A second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Estime Irvin and seconded by Ms. Cohen. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Any communications, either from staff, board members? Any communications? Okay, we'll move on. We have no continued items, so we're going to begin with the first new petition, which is V-5-14, which is Belasa Professional Institute, 744 Northeast 125th Street. Is the applicant present? Okay. Come forward. State your name and address, please.
There's a button in the bottom.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Hi, my name is Robert Babani. I'm the president of Belasa Professional Institute, which is a beauty school that's located in Hollandale, and I wanted to move to North Miami. The address is the actual school is the new location, 744 Northeast 125th Street.
Okay, thank you. Mr. LeBron?
Yes, sir. This is a petition for a special exception to allow technical school in the downtown, which is zone C3, and pursuant to Article 4, Division 3, Section 4302, and Article 3, Division 5, Section 3504 of the Land Development Regulations. As noted in the report, the property is located in our downtown. just west of the City Hall, and on the Mocha, Plaza, and right in front of the police department. The applicant wants to establish a technical school there, which, according to the regulations, requires special exception approval by the Board of Adjustment. And from the report, the application has met all the land use requirements to be located in that area. The reason why, I need to clarify that the use is listed as a special exception, because some of those uses, even though they are permitted in the district, but they still require, certain conditions before we can allow them, to operate, because some of them may create, fume, noise, or any kind of order that may affect the quality of life of either the resident of the neighborhood or business. So this one happens to meet, they have enough parking. That's one of the things that we look at when we review for a special exception. It is listed as a special exception in the district. There's appropriate, facilities, to for the estimate traffic, because this is right in the middle of downtown. And one of the goal of the downtown master plan, which is you may be familiar with, is to bring a lot of pedestrian traffic in the city. And I think this type of application, the school, given the hours of operation, will provide that kind of pedestrian traffic to enhance, implement the goal of our downtown master plans. And there enough parking because it's located right adjacent to a municipal parking lot, and therefore they don't have or need to provide on-site parking. And a landscaping or fencing along the property lines, is not applicable. It's not a requirement that is applicable, given there's no residential uses. All the uses are non-residential in nature and doesn't require any special buffering. And the property, the building has been built for a long time and has been connecting to water, sewer, and all these other, public services. And given that, this application meets all those requirements, staff believe that it's a suitable use for the property and is recommended for approval.
Thank you.
I mean, and I should mention, we have attached, some conditions, which are, basic conditions, because it is a school, we require before the applicant apply for the special, the certificate of use that they meet all the requirements, applicable requirements of the Florida Department of Education, which I think the applicant already did because it's an existing school trying to relocate. And then another condition that we add to it, if that use ever becomes a nuisance to the city, that the city has that right to be able to revoke that certificate of use, which is.
And Mr. Babani?
Yes.
Anything else you'd like to add?
That's it. That's it. I got the new certificate of renewal for another year from the Department of Education. Because when I gave it to you, I think it was the one from last year. I got the new one if you want a copy of it.
Okay. All right. I'd like to open for public hearing. Anyone for or against in the audience? Speak up now before I ever hold your peace. Okay. Board discussion?
Yeah, I just have basic questions. What are the hours of operation?
Well, we're going to have class between 9:30 and 2:30, and then we have class between 5:30 and 8:30.
Between 5:30?
5:30 p.m. and 8:30 p.m.
And 8:30.
Yeah.
And approximately how many students are you expecting to
Right
be
now, we got
enrolled?
about 10 students at night, and about maybe 8 to 9 in the morning right now. I don't know. Hopefully, we'll have more
Okay,
when we move to this area.
thank you.
Quick question, you said you're relocating from Hollandale
Yeah.
to North Miami?
That's correct.
How long were you in Hollandale?
3 years.
3 years?
What was the most students you ever had in the place in Hollandale?
For mornings, maybe about 15. Nights, about 10, 12, depends.
What is the age group?
Mainly between 35 and 50, around there. We get some young ones during the summer for nail technician, while there's when summer breaks. So short nail technicians are short course, 13 weeks. So they usually during the summer we get 17 to 20, 22, 23 year old.
Anyone else? Okay, I don't have any question. It's all been answered.
So I motion to approve.
Second?
Okay. Motion made by Ms. Esime Irvin and seconded by Mr. Modesier. Roll call, please.
Ms. Phillip,
Yes?
Mr. Mondazir,
Yes.
Ms. Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. Stimmy Irvin,
Yes.
Mr. Dorville.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Amendment approved.
Have a good one, thank you.
Okay, our next case, V-6-14, Growing Minds Teaching Center, 13339-41 Northwest 7th Avenue.
Yes.
Hi.
Sorry. My name is Drusilla Douse, address 2261 Northwest 170th Street, Miami Gardens, Florida, 33056.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Sullivan, would you like to give us a background on this?
Yes, this is another application to open a school, and just happen to be another commercial zoning district on the C1 along the 7th Avenue corridor. And again, the applicant has entered into a lease agreement with the owner of this building and to open a school, which, according to her letter of intent, will bring an exciting yet vital educational experience in critical needed area to each student from pre-K to 6th grades. So, and then say the curriculum will be based on core subjects, you know, as opposed, to the other one. The other one was more like for a technical school, which cater more mostly to, or young adults or maybe adults. This one is basically for young kids, you know, from pre-K to 6th grades. And again, the criteria and the LDR under which, you know, this application was reviewed, it's basically it's a use listed as a special exception, meet that appropriate facilities, you know, for the traffic, because it's on 7th Avenue, and then the amount of traffic that will be generated from this type of school, we having parents dropping off kids, will not really affect, you know, traffic on that corridor. And then parking can be provided in the front, but one of the conditions that we attach to the application that in the front there would be a drop-off area or auto stacking, so there's no traffic backing out onto the street. And then if they're not able to to provide all the parkings in the front, and they may, you know, pave a part of the backyard to provide that, since there's a access to provide for additional parking. And then another condition, given the age of the kids, that they provide adequate fencing for the kids, you know, to be able to use the rear also as, you know, a playground for recreational activities. And in terms of use, because the 7th Avenue corridor is in dire need of, you know, businesses, and we think this is that or use that is suitable for that corridor, and then we are also recommending approval for it.
Thank you. And Ms. Dowse?
Yes.
Anything would you like to add?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
I've been an educator for Miami-Dade County for 28 years, and I've seen a lot of things. And actually, I've shedded a lot of tears for things that I've seen. And just recently, as of this week, there are 2 schools closing because they said that they did not make enough gains. There's 630 students floating around somewhere. And I feel as though if I had the opportunity to take some of those babies that have actually fallen through the cracks, because they have deemed the school a failing school, but every child in that school did not fail. And I feel as though my little small hub that I can take these babies and nurture them and then send them on their way would be a great advantage. I've seen them for 1% deviation that they tell the parents we can't help them, and the parents don't know what to do. So I feel like my little corner would be somewhere where they can bring them and get some help.
Okay. You're passionate.
I am very passionate about my babies.
Anyone in the audience for or against this applicant? Okay. Board discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair, if I can start. Actually, I have a question for the
Yes.
Deputy City Attorney. I see that she's applying for grades pre-K through 6. how does that affect the existing businesses in the area that has the 4 COP liquor licenses?
Well,
Question.
the way it affects it is this way. The school is coming in to an existing 4 COP license. If it were the other way around, if the school was pre-existing, then the 4 COP license could not be moving in within 1,500 feet of that particular licensee. In this case, it's the other way around. It's the school that's moving in. So the code actually exempts the distancing requirement, because the distancing requirement is against the licensee, the 4 COP, not against the school, yes. And that would hold true for any
new
schools. Exactly. All, the schools, it would also hold true for a church, let's say, a house of worship that would be attempting to move near a 4 COP licensee.
Obviously, I'm affectionately familiar with that area, and I know that particular building, and the parking in front of it is pretty difficult, basically non-existent, if I recall. And you're talking about during traffic hours, dropping off the kids and picking them up. I don't know if that's something that you guys really considered and
I
reviewed
have.
carefully.
I have, because the building is located in the middle. You can go around it either way, and it won't conflict with the traffic. And in the back, there's a lot of space where I intend to cut off the gate at some point so that there can be additional parking. I've also met with Mr. Kanata at the restaurant, and I met with him, and we spoke. And I asked him if it would be a problem if at some point I would have to, if I would need the place to park. And he assured me that it would be no problem, just as long as they didn't mainstay. They would drop off and then leave, because he's there at 4 in the morning. And by the time we dropped off, his business opens during lunchtime. And by the time we're leaving, he's still open. So I did speak with him.
And if I may add, and this is one of the reasons why we didn't want to have, the front of the building, solely for parking areas, providing an auto stacking that allow to the circular driveway that allow the cars to come in and park, drop off their kids and exit the facility, as opposed to have, people parking in the front and then backing out and then the car driving. So in other way, we can maybe require that all the employee parkings are provided in the back and leave the front just for drop-off area.
Okay, which,
Is that alternative being presented here in the package? Because I didn't see anything addressing that issue. Like I said, I'm very familiar with that 7th Avenue, reversing out, it's pretty
But see,
dangerous,
that's what I thought. What I propose to do is, when the area is fenced, because you can go either way, have an opening in the back where they would drop the children off in the back, and we would receive them in the back. So they wouldn't have to come in the front, and the employees would park in the front. The parents will either go, either way, and there will be a gate for them to come through and bring the children in, and someone would be at the door to receive them.
I have a question, Ms. Dowd, if board doesn't mind. A couple of questions. You said you plan on serving pre-K through 6th grade. Have you been in contact with DCF? Because pre-K would require DCF licensing.
Yes, I have.
Okay. And as it relates to, I guess, the drop-off, the fact that you will have pre-K children, which will require that the parents come in and sign them in, and come in and sign them out.
Well,
So
I have a system that I had in mind, that someone would be there with a clipboard to receive them, where the parents wouldn't necessarily have to come in if they were in a hurry, to avoid them having to back up everything.
And in terms of a playground, have you identified what would be used for a playground?
I have.
'Cause I don't think I see it here,
I don't either.
because I was trying to,
And based on the plans, and that's one of the conditions that we have attached to it. Because, and now if you look at the Florida requirements, that playground can either be indoor or outdoors. They can dedicate
Well-
spaces inside the building or outside, but because of the location of the building, so the condition basically was if they were to provide that recreational outdoor space, they have to properly fence that for security
Mhm.
purposes.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a DCF thing, and they'll have to, any other questions from the board?
Yes, I have a question. Also, I'm familiar with the area. If you do put a playground in the back, that means you're facing that hotel in the back or a motel, which is sketchy at best.
Mm.
Which my concern is the children, because if you're having a playground in the back, you're looking at where, remember like what, 2 years ago there was a murder committed in that area. So that's the issue I have.
Well, by law, the students must be supervised at all times anyway, and that will definitely be a requirement of mine, that eyesight at all times, head count at all times.
This is a question for legal. Can we require them putting up a fence?
Yes, it is one of the requirements.
It
Yes,
is already?
it's actually on page 5, number 7.
But a
Opaque,
not opaque
You know,
fence.
it will have to comply, the fence would have to obviously comply with the land development regulations, which, yes, that's one of the prohibitions, that it cannot be opaque,
It cannot be.
cannot be.
Can we require then vegetation so
Oh,
that?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
just so that the
Yes.
kids and
absolutely,
some pedophile don't see that?
absolutely. You can put a fence and then some kind of hedging,
Right, the hedging.
to create an additional buffer. Not
Okay.
only to prevent people from, coming in, but also to prevent the aesthetic,
Right.
as you had just so brightly mentioned, that, it's kind of seedy, and you don't want the kids to be looking at that.
But we
So,
can require that.
Yeah, yes,
No,
yes,
it's already.
It's already required.
It would be
Okay.
reinforced by our
It's one-
landscape hedge that would go up to 6 feet.
Okay.
so that will provide an additional level of protection, both visually and as an obstacle for entry.
I had, I guess, another concern, but following up with Mr. Mondes here, and I know they can go in, but anybody else afterward will have, let's say, you have a restaurant that will open up and they wanted to have a liquor license based on the proximity.
If you don't mind, because the restaurants do not have to comply with the spacing requirements. Nightclubs, bars, those have to comply with those requirements, not restaurants, because they only serve to the patrons sitting at the table.
Okay.
Liquor package
The COP license, for COP is a state license issued by Alcohol and Tobacco. And COP stands for consumption on the premises. In other words, no one is allowed to consume beverages outside of the premises. They would be arrested, and the owner of that license can lose that license, which is very valuable. So consumption will occur only in the inside, and if it's used in conjunction with a restaurant, there's normally a ratio where sales of food would exceed
Okay.
the sales of alcoholic beverages.
I just know that based on the comp plan that we have for downtown, and not just for downtown, but as well as for other parts of the city, that we want to make sure that we're not going to hinder any businesses that will be coming in,
Yeah.
to be aligned with the other businesses. Anyone
Restaurants will
else?
not be affected.
Yeah. What is the expected number of students, and who are you targeting? I know that Disadvantage or North Miami residents are gonna have a preference,
Yes.
and how many are you expecting?
Well, I've had the Department of Health to come in, and I've also had the fire inspector to come in, and I have those approvals. They are expecting no more than 21 to 22 students on both sides, so a total of maybe perhaps 40 students.
And your pre-K would be half of that?
Well, I didn't want to include any baby that needed help. That's why I went as far as pre-K. So it's not as exactly designated for pre-K or any particular grade. Because there are some students who are in 6th grade working on the 2nd grade level.
No, I was trying to figure out, based on what your capacity will be, since you are offering pre-K, are you looking at, let's say, 4 years and above? Because
Yes,
anytime,
ma'am.
anyone below age of 5, that involves DCF licensing, and that's completely different than the rest of your population would be.
Right, I understand. That's why I
Okay.
chose 2 sides, so
Okay.
that the older children would be together and the younger children would be together.
Staffing, how many, approximately how many staff you will have?
So far, we have 2, and as enrollment increases, then we will increase staff.
Because with staffing, that means you would need more permanent parking. Right?
So at least 4, and there's enough space for 4.
Madam Chair, if I may add, and I mean, obviously, the reason I keep bringing this up is basically because of the age group that's involved in this, with this applicant. I recall there was an applicant maybe two or three board meetings ago on Memorial Highway, and they pretty much had the same issue with the drop-off. You know, they went back and they came back with the actual sketch, you know, something visible for us to see. You know, so that put us in a comfort level as far as moving forward with that particular applicant. That's the only way that I honestly would feel comfortable with this, you know, applicant, if they can come back instead of just a theory, but something visual that we can actually
I've
see.
submitted a sketch.
Could you please identify, because I didn't.
They have the survey.
I mean, it didn't clearly delineate, you know, the drop-off in the parking area,
Yeah.
so that's.
I know where the air conditioning's going.
Clearly delineated.
Did you find anything?
No?
That's up to
Yeah,
you.
and Ms. Cohen and I are
That's
saying
early.
that prints need to be bigger.
Yeah, they have
Our
got to
eyes
be.
are getting older.
Okay.
Yes, please. I put glasses on top of my contacts, I still couldn't see. Do we
Yeah,
have
it
one?
doesn't really
I-
go with the, you know, it's
Yeah.
floor plans and other
It's
things,
drop
but
in
it
the
doesn't
parking.
really deal with the parking
With the drop-off.
and,
With the-
you know, what will be done exactly.
And how it would fit,
Uh-huh.
yes.
You want to continue? No, no, no. Something,
Okay.
you want to know, drawing to
So,
scale?
would you like to make that into a motion, Mr.
Yeah.
Mejia?
Yeah, I'd like to make the motion that I guess the applicant would go back and work with staff and actually come up with some type of drawing or rendering, you know, something very simple that identified the actual drop-off and the pickup for the students. And, you know, while they're working on that, maybe they could address the other issues with the fencing and the playgrounds, you know, to at least
So your motion is to continue.
to continue.
Can I make a friendly amendment? I think we did address the playground because it can be done either indoor or outdoor. I think the fence was already, is already.
It's in there.
It's already in there. So I would do a friendly amendment of approving this upon bringing bringing that
Well, his motion is to continue,
to
so that
continue.
we,
I'd rather continue it, yeah.
I would like to just also ask, is there security here, now that I'm getting a feel of the neighborhood? Is there gonna be cameras up there?
Yes.
And-
And then the restaurant next door, He has a camera. I've already been in, and he can
Okay.
see both sides as well as the front.
Okay, all right.
You don't have, you're not open right now.
No, ma'am, I
Okay.
was waiting for an approval
you-
before I start putting up things.
Yeah, and you have probably some other things that's pending. So continuation?
Yes, a continuation, just to add to the issue of security. There's a North Miami Police substation that's scheduled to open up on 7th
Yes.
Ave.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
On
137,
137, yeah.
somewhere up there, so.
Okay.
Okay,
That's the
Mr.
positive.
Mendezir has made a motion to continue so we can deal with the drop-off issue. So it could be, the applicant can bring us a better plan so that we can see. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so your case will continue. So I guess what we're asking you to do is get together with Mr. LeBrun so that the next time you come in, you can clearly show the plan and how this whole drop-off and pickup will be taken care of, as well as the parking.
Okay, and when would this continuance be?
What's the next meeting? Yeah, we're in August. We skip one month to October. Third Wednesday in October.
That's gonna put me further behind in opening and further into the school year.
Would we, again, I don't know if you would want, and that's why I was trying to see if we can do a friendly amendment. If school, when do you anticipate, Madam Chair, may I?
Go ahead, go ahead.
When do you anticipate opening?
Well, I was waiting for this approval because I have a plumber already coming to put in for the sink on Sunday. I have everything already ready. I have my license from the state. I have the fire inspections. I have been doing everything except for waiting for this.
So again, when were you gonna open up? What's the date?
I wanted to start opening in September. And to wait for October, you know, it's a long time. Almost at the end of October, it's like November. It'll push, you know,
I don't know.
a
I
good
mean,
portion of the school already over.
I don't know, I would appeal to my board members. Once again, I am in agreement with the decision, I understand that. With a better plan, I know the traffic, I'm familiar with 7th Avenue. But I, you know, not to cause the applicant more hardship, I would want to know if you guys would reconsider approving it upon, obviously you would deal with staff, once, you know, an acceptable, I don't know, if I guess it'd have to come back to us. A site plan, I don't know, Mr. Attorney, help me.
Let me-
try and guess better.
My only
Yeah,
caution,
I was just gonna ask that.
How fast?
How fast, I mean, we're working with staff, would you be able to come up with a site plan as far as the drop-off is concerned? And would it have to come before us again to be revisited? or to be approved
it's
for-
to satisfy your issue. It's for your approval. You're making that a condition for approval. So my fear is that if you conditionally approve this and then you don't like the site plan, or you don't like the proposed project as it stands at that moment, then how are you going to undo a special exception in a business that's already operated? Now you have a major legal issue in your hands.
Okay.
Because, you know, what are you gonna do then? Rubber stamp whether you like it or not at that juncture? Or are you gonna recall the entire operation at that point? That's my only concern.
Mr. Attorney, isn't this similar to the first case in the sense that we have the right, if it becomes a nuisance of any sort, that we can revoke the license?
Well,
Will
I
it
can
be-
make it a
Any
con-
conditions?
I can make it a condition, and I usually do that,
Okay.
that it, for example, but the question again is this: will a plan as requested be proposed in the end? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question because it's up to the applicant. We could make it a condition that a plan satisfactory to staff be proposed, and if it is satisfactory to staff, then everything's status quo. Otherwise, at that juncture, then we can revoke the special exception. But it would be satisfactory to staff. Otherwise, it's gonna have to come back here for your satisfaction, and it's gonna be in October. That's the hiccup that I see in all this.
Yeah, and I remembered, probably sometime last year,
How many
or
feet?
maybe a year and a half ago, we had a applicant with a daycare, a childcare center they wanted to open. And what we needed to keep in mind was the fact, us giving the green light to go sort of like puts us in a, you know, if anything happens, we have to be really, really sure and comfortable, you know, with giving the variance, so, special exception.
If, God forbid, the issues you have raised this evening are realized, but yet the green light was prematurely, that's my fear, was prematurely given, then there's no coming back.
Okay.
That's, it's a tough situation.
Can we do this by email?
Yeah, I was thinking that, but I'm thinking
No,
that's
you gotta be on the record,
These are
lady.
everybody
Yeah,
took a
proxy
note.
vote.
That would be an ex parte
Ladies.
communication, we can't have that.
Yeah,
No, you
Sorry.
send it to us.
right, and then we reply.
Like,
But
you could leave it to the discretion of staff, and a subsequent report can be provided to you to fulfill your curiosity, but your decision
still
would be
can go either
left.
way.
Your decision is either tonight, with
Or
that
next week.
discretion, delegating that discretion to staff, or it's gonna have to wait until October. Because you have conditioned your approval on one site plan.
Well,
Yeah,
a hard
I
one.
mean, it's a hard one, and, you know, if we do decide on it, we at least want to be able to feel comfortable, you know, with the decision that we make, and if we were to approve it, you know, to leave it at staff's discretion, I mean, staff didn't notice it the first time, you know?
okay, so it stands,
Yeah, I think it stands.
okay. All right.
So,
Okay. Okay.
when was the application?
Well, anyway, I still would like to thank you, and I understand your position, and it's pretty tough for me. But, so what is the next process? Do I have to go back and get on the calendar and so forth, or do I need to get an architect, get with Mr. LeBron, and we come up with a drawing? I want to know specifically what you want to see, so I can come back with the, whatever it is that you're requesting.
Get an architect, find the biggest problem is the entrance. How are we gonna deal with that? If you get an architect, work with and find out a perfect way, or a way that we are all satisfied, you're good to go, because that's the only problem he has. And, you know, we all have it, because as what you stated, that you care about the children, we care about their safety, so that's a big problem.
Well, honestly, when I saw the location, I didn't see a problem, because right in the back, there's a two-way lane. So one's going this way, and they're both going either way. Or because it's circular, we can direct the parents for you, when you bring the children, everybody comes in one direction. I've worked in schools like that, where their whole drop-off and pickup was the parking lot. And they had cones along the way, and you just follow the cones and you come in. You just come in one way, just go around the circle.
Okay,
So when I saw it, that was my vision.
which is excellent. I'm glad you said that. That's your vision. We're asking you to put that vision on paper, so we can see.
Okay,
'Cause
so
you're
you
telling
just
us
want to
the
see
vision.
cones? You
We
just
need,
wanna say-
we need to see it on paper to show us this is going to be the drop off, this is going to be the pickup, this is going to be the circular motion that they're going to make, this is the designated parking, so we can feel comfortable that these kids are being safe.
Okay, now before I leave, I made a drawing for myself. And I would like you to look at it, please, and tell me what, because it has designated for fencing and so forth. If you can tell me,
Yes, sir.
Sir, I don't know if that's gonna, passing the drawing is not really to scale,
Oh,
so you may just wanna take a look at it.
Right, and just tell me what you would like to
and-
see
Yeah.
in addition to that. Because I have a space where I have the fencing, and right along the fencing, it was gonna be not all the way up to the building, but enough parking space like this. And the streets are going two ways. But they will be directed to come in one area and just form one loop and then go out the other side.
what street is this?
That's a wall.
So where's Seventh Ave?
That's the back door, so Seventh Ave would
This
be
should
over here.
Seventh Ave? Oh,
And
that
that's the
says
entrance
address.
here, front entrance, and this is Seventh
Yeah.
Avenue.
This is the parking.
Mhm. And then here,
See, this is what I'm concerned about, because
Is
this
here.
traffic is just constant.
so then they're gonna have,
This is,
Seventh Avenue would be here,
yes.
right?
mhm.
So this is what she's saying is here, but also you remember, this is here. You see?
It's sticking out.
Yeah, it's sticking out. So if she's doing that, meaning we go this way, this way, this way, so you're looking at this way or this way, but they're coming out this way, which is not bad for where they're going in. But the thing is she just puts it a little bit better, because there's another building exactly right here. So she's looking at this way,
Yes,
and
but
that way.
when they go around to go in, back into the parking lot, there is an entrance back into the parking lot?
Now also, this is where they park, so they're gonna be parking here.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, but, you have to be
Yeah.
on the record on all your discussions.
We're all on
Oh,
record.
yeah.
Now that you've
All
made a
mics
decision.
are on. All mics are on.
It's no different than that email that
Yeah.
we just alluded to earlier.
It needs, yes, she needs to.
Yeah, she needs to clear up
Yeah.
some work. Need some work.
Pass it back to me, I'll go to Treasurer.
All right.
Thank you.
I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously the decision's been made, so she'll just, basically you just have to elaborate. You're pretty much on the right track, you just have to elaborate more on it. But that's pretty much more or less what we're asking for.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just as far as where the gate is, you just want to see where the traffic is going?
Where traffic is going, where traffic is going, where the drop-off will be, the entry, the exit. You know, we just want to make sure that it'll be safe for the kids.
Yeah, what you have designated to be the drop-off, how it's going to be. And of course, you know, once that decision is made, is put on paper, then, you know, the parents have to also be, you know, trained in some
mhm.
ways so that it is done that way.
Okay. All right, I thank you. I'll be back in October.
Okay. All right. And our next case,
We haven't voted yet.
excuse me?
Oh, roll call.
Yeah, we did. We said all in favor.
All in favor?
Yeah, it
Yes.
wasn't a roll call.
You were all in favor
Yeah.
of deferring
It
the
wasn't
item
a
until the
Right.
site plan.
Okay, all right.
And then there was, we're good to go. Good to proceed. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, next case, V-7-14, Advanced Christian Academy, 525 Northeast 125th Street.
Good evening, I am Pastor Jean Valsaint, 1251 Northwest 54th Street, Miami, Florida. 33142.
Thank you. And the young lady with you?
No, Tida Sensuin.
Okay. Same address?
Yes.
Speak into the mic, please.
The same address?
Name and address?
525 North, what's the address again? Sorry. 525 Northeast, 125th Street, Miami, Florida, 33161.
Okay. And Mr. LeBrun, would you like to give us the background in this application?
Yes. This is another special exception for another school. It's right just a few hundred blocks away from 5-point intersection at 525 Northeast in 125th Street next to the Stambridge, furniture store. The applicant is leasing 3,000 square feet on the second floor of the two-story building to open a secondary school that will help, adolescents and young adults complete their high school degree. A parking is being provided on both sides of the building and also in the back. And this is an existing building that has already been connected to all the public services. And it's a special exception as that needs to be approved by the Board of Adjustment for that type of use in the C3 district. Again, we have reviewed this application on the criteria of Article 3, Division 5, Section 3504 of the Land Development Regulations. And staff, determination was that there are adequate parkings for the safe, for the number of occupants and employees and patrons of the existing building. And as far as landscaping, because of the proximity of a single family in the back, even though they have the same zoning designation, we feel like a chain link fence along the back of the building would not be suitable, and then we require that they provide a fence along the back of the building, and they have enough parkings, and then we feel like this also would be a need that is suitable for that building, and then we recommend approval for it. And then the conditions are attached to it based on the parkings that need to be restriped, the parking area, that they provide traffic control sign and pavement markings for it to ensure vehicle traffic operations. They provide curbs or wheel stops, because right now they don't have anything for the parking areas to protect the landscaping or pedestrian area. That the chain link fence along the way of the property be replaced with an opaque fence, either CBS or wooden, to provide a more suitable buffer between the proposed use and the residual neighborhood north, even further north of the property in the back. So they don't have to see that every time they wake up in the morning, and then they meet the requirements of the Florida Department of Education, the Miami-Dade County Public Schools, and also a typical condition that the certificate of use may be revoked if they don't violate any of the conditions of this approval.
Thank you, Mr. LeBrun. Thank you. Anyone for or against this applicant? Okay, and I'll open to board discussion. I have a couple of questions, but go ahead. Yes, no?
What is the age group?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We,
what is the age group that you
by
expect?
fire department, we are qualified for 9-year-old all the way to 18.
9 to 18.
Yes,
But
but we would like to be secondary because we have another location, 54th Street, that accommodate the kindergartens all the way to the middle school. So I just want to come up with secondary here, which is 9 to 12.
9 to 12.
9 to 12 years?
No,
Grade?
grade 9 to 12 years.
Ah,
Yes,
Grade. Grade.
grade 9
So
to
that's
12.
high
that
school.
age. It's high school.
That's high
Yes.
school.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm jumping in. You said 9 to 12 grades?
9.
Is this a school, a tutoring program? What is it exactly?
We are a regular school. We will provide classes 8:30 in the morning till 3 o'clock
So
in.
it's like a charter?
We are
Or is it a private?
a private, Christian private school. But the way the fire department make us, it's like we are a public school because they ask us for every little details in plans.
Any other questions from the board?
How many children will attend?
According to the classroom that we're going to use, it's a maximum of 70 students because we use one room for assembly, like to have prayer meetings with them. But classrooms, we have a total of 70 students max.
Seven, oh, seven,
Seven
zero.
zero.
Seven,
But
70
we do
students.
not have that many yet. That's how many we can accommodate in that place.
So how many teachers will you have? How
We
many?
will have, because every 18 student, 2 instructor. 2 instructor per 18, so that mean we are going to have 6 instructor for the 70 students.
So you will be having, if you build up to capacity, about 70 high schoolers.
Yes.
And you say now you're currently on 54.
I'm on
So
54.
I would imagine you're thinking once they graduate from that location, then they'll transfer over to the 9 through 12 location?
Those middle school, yes, they will
Middle-
come up here whenever they
Whenever they
graduate
finish there,
down, and they
that's
can
the-
come up here. Because I just want to provide more service to this community because we are looking to give a better service to this city.
How many? Oh,
And
go
you'll be on
ahead,
the
sorry.
second floor?
Yes.
Approximately how many students do you have at the location of 54th?
12 right now,
12?
yes.
How many parking spaces do you have?
Over there, we have approximately 56.
About close to 60.
No, about,
26?
I think 60,
50.
60
Oh,
parkings.
50.
Yes, 60 parkings over there.
60?
Yes.
Counting this, it's 41 on that side.
Okay. High school kids have cars.
Well,
And 125th.
I'm just thinking, break time or
Maybe,
time when they get out of school,
I know,
the hangout,
I
the,
just thought of something too. Mr.
They're right on the
City
street.
Attorney, maybe you can help me with
Yeah.
this. I don't know why it just popped in.
Where is,
How does it, you know how they have the school zones? I mean, anything like that gonna be
Mhm.
required for, I mean, you talk about 70 students he's trying to get to. So would school zone need to be implemented on, what's 125th?
That would be something that the applicant would have to seek from Miami-Dade County, because the signage would have to go up and even cross guards at times, depending on the corridor. So those are considerations that would have to be considered by Miami-Dade County.
and I know that street, I know that location. It's almost right across from President, and that
President is
that light in the center, trust me, I've seen people trying to cross, and even though the light turned red and the cars just, I don't know.
we do not have any student that is going to come walking or because we do have a bus that pick them up, drop them off, and pick them off the parking lot and drop them back home.
So
We-
everybody will be bused to the location?
yes, we do have a bus for that.
But they're not gonna be required. So if there's somebody who lives in this area who wants to go to the school, who can walk, there's no way you can stop them from walking, right?
Yes, but all the students, all the parents that we have they are part of our church, and we bus them to come to school because we are Christians, and we use mostly the members in the church, the most students that we have. And we do have buses, even though we have 100 kids, we still have bus to drive them over there.
is there an elevator in this facility?
No elevator.
No, they're not ADA.
Because they
They're
are
not
secondary, they
required.
don't need elevators. We
You don't
can,
need American
I
we are
Disability?
exempt from
I
that.
don't know.
Are you grandfathered in for American with Disability Act, ADA?
No,
that
No.
would go with-
no, that's not gonna do.
That would be with the building. I
I
mean,
know, but
the
that's still,
requirements, for, I guess, for private schools and what we know as public school and all, they're completely different and.
We exempt from so many things.
If I may, Madam Chair,
I'm
to
sorry,
ex-
go ahead.
I would like to address the concern that was raised by Mr. Mundis here. There's a condition, number 5, which, and if you desire, I can also expand on it. It requires the applicant to comply with all applicable requirements of the, number 1, Florida Department of Education, 2, the Miami-Dade County Public Schools, 3, Miami-Dade Fire Department, and all other county and state agencies. That to me would pretty much cover the spectrum. So just to, leave some
Yes.
assurance. And if you should so desire, I could also make sure that I can add more clarification to it and to include, if necessary, cross guards and signs, school signs, and it's maybe required by Miami-Dade County. But this is like a catch-all for those
Yeah.
concerns.
And I'm sorry, maybe the application is not complete, because if they, at this point, I don't know what the state or the district requires. I don't see anything in their package other than their application and their intent to open up this business, because as it stands, it's a business, it's a private business. Okay, so what does the state require? What does Miami-Dade County Public School require? That's not here.
I have a report on that. I believe, I have the fire department came over to do the inspection report. They required for us to install a fire alarm, which we did. And we pull permit in the city here. We install the fire alarms, and also they make sure that we have enough, the hallway must be 6 feet there, which is, the space is accommodated to that. And the stairs that they walk up, so it has to be at least 44 inches from the door to the first very step that you put your feet. That accommodate. The fire department has 10 pages of what we call the plans that's already approved. And then they only ask us to install 2 egress windows, and the city has a permit. I have the permit number right there in the city of North Miami, which already approved to install those windows.
And I hear you, that's the fire department, and that's from one perspective. I'm thinking, and maybe I'm being stupid in that sense, I'm thinking of what a school is and the responsibilities. You're saying to us, there will be approximately, if you're successful, 70 ninth grade to 12th graders. And I know, coming from the education field, what it means to have 9th and 10, 11, and 12th graders. We are in a second floor building, which is, it could be any store. Now, I'm just trying to think about what can, because these are not little babies that you can really control. These are teenagers who, even under the best circumstances, they try to get away with things.
Madam Chair, I hear the concerns, but once again, I feel comfortable because it says that they have to meet the requirement of this public school, the requirement of the county, the requirement of the city, or else this can go through. So if they're meeting the requirement of the public schools, and this is a requirement, my understanding, is that correct, Mr.
Yes, that's one of the
Nguyen?
conditions.
One of the
And at the time of
conditions.
Yeah.
I
How do
don't
we get
believe
rid
the
of-
public school sets, I don't believe there is a thing that the district sets as it relates to private or what they call religious institutions. I don't believe, it's just like the step up. If you applied with the State Department, Florida Department of Education, and whatever it is in terms of what you're offering, whether, if you can prove to them you have a curriculum, you have qualified staff, it's very minimal. And in this package, I don't see anything other than that. Because Miami-Dade County Public School, I don't believe has to sign off on this. They
No,
don't,
I don't think
Because
so
we,
either.
they don't.
because we are not a public school, that's the
Right.
reason why.
You're not
they-
a charter school, so you're not getting your
Yes.
charter from them. So they
They
are
don't.
applying as a business. It's a
I
business.
It's a business.
understand that, but again, it's on conditions that they meet the requirement.
I meant
But
that.
which requirements?
Can you specify?
Well, the thing is that what is before this board is a special
Yeah,
exception. It's
right.
only to approve the use.
Well,
And all we could do is, since we're not the licensing entities
I'm
for all these
not.
other departments, the best we can do
I
is
have
to
safety
ensure
concern.
that whatever it is that they have to do is done as a condition of
that-
approval of your use.
that is truthfully, now that I know exactly where it is, that's the most dangerous
It is.
intersection
I-
there is in the
I
city.
can't argue with that. I know the area. I can't, I fear the
Iris,
areas
is
when I
that
drive
strip
sometimes.
I
and
mean, I
where
know it.
people are, where people have to cross, even for their own staff.
But one thing, if you notice, there was once, at one time, if you read it, said there was an
Was
existing school.
Right.
It's just the records weren't there. But
No,
probably
there
at
was
that
a
time-
school there, and if I know what it is, it used to be for folks who wanted to be nurses' assistant.
Okay. So it was
So
adult.
they're
It was also
adults.
okay.
They're adults.
I agree with you.
As an example, the fire inspection was done. Had that failed, that would have been it, because that would be a failure of this business to obtain a fire permit
Yes.
or to operate. So
Yeah, but again, it's the city.
Yeah, it's the city that's gonna take the liability.
Okay. Any other questions, discussion?
Also, your church is actually on 54th Street,
54th Street, sir.
and then you basically said that mostly all the church people are gonna be going.
That's where my school now.
Would the school be open to anybody who didn't necessarily, like if they lived in the neighborhood but didn't necessarily
And not
go to your
attending
church?
It's not to be what we call prejudice or something, but we are a Christian school. If we accept a child, either one of the parent must be converted. Understand? So we just want to combine the service to everyone in the community to give them a change of life in anyhow, anywhere we can do. Help them out for all parents. But because that's one of the requirement we have also into the school. But the fire department give us all the green lines, which is make us spend a whole lot of money to make it up to code that we can open the school and operate there. And we're also licensed by the Department of Education. So if you check us into Florida School Choice, we are there.
I have something else also, Madam Chair, I want to add. I just thought of. You raised the issue earlier with the other applicant. If we were to have a school go into 125th, how does it affect the overall downtown development plan? You know, with other, trying to
Because
attract
this
other
definitely
businesses.
will, because you're talking
know?
about 9th to 10th graders. These are not, you know. Okay, any more discussion? Okay, will someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second? Motion died for second. So do we need to vote the other way? And motion to disapprove, it means the same thing.
It
Go
has
through
to do
the-
a roll call.
I just want to talk to the board. I'm just concerned. I understand our concern and our safety, and I'm all for that. I live here in the city, and I understand that. But I also, I just want to make sure that we are allowing people to do business as long as they're meeting requirements, they're meeting the license. We may not necessarily agree with with what's going on, but I feel that we need to give, you know, if they're doing anything wrong and
I agree, but we
I-
also have to think of what's the plan, what's the overall plan for, are we really
city.
serious about the city
Growing.
developing its comp plan, which requires certain things, because we've already spent money on the studies that have been done, and you are on the CRA, and you know what has been, and this really doesn't fit
But
into it.
I understand that.
And
If-
then
if
there's a
this-
concern with the
The
safety of the
Madam
kids.
Chair, if this were 200 students, 300, I think I could agree with you. The maximum that they could have is 70. And I don't
70 is
think
a
that
lot.
they're meeting,
And
I
that's a
understand
lot.
that, I understand that,
That's
but
a
I don't
lot.
even believe that they will or meet their maximum, because apparently they're even catering to a small group anyway, you know? And to just flat out deny it because, you know, these are not minors.
They
they're-
are
they I mean,
minors.
what I mean by that is they're not babies, you know,
They're
and
worse than babies. They're
they are
worse.
what.
They're-
But they-
Let
I
me
have
tell
two.
you,
They're worse.
dealing in that field, I probably would have been. It wouldn't have suited being on the second floor, but I would much rather, knowing that, okay, maybe the 3, the 4, the 5-year-old, because there's no way they could get out on their own. But you've got those 9, 10, 11, and 12th graders. I see it as we're asking for trouble. And the businesses below, and that's the businesses below too. You're talking about 70,
Right, but
70.
again, I'm sure this is published, they've had an input, they were able to talk to
A
people.
lot of time we publish and we think, and unfortunately the people come and they come after the fact and they have no clue what it is, why they're getting the notice. I don't
But
know.
if I may to add this, I believe the owner of the building was the mayor of the city here. And if he knew that wasn't able to have the school after we spent already $38,000 in that building, to remodeling the building, I don't believe it is really, to your point, it's going to be fair after we spend all we have in a sense to make it up to code, then come and receive a
I-
disapproval
that's-
to
that's
run
right.
a
It's
school, and we are going to only have 12 students for now. We have a capacity of 70 students, but we don't have that now.
You don't have it now, but there's a possibility that you
you
might.
will have it.
Because you also, anybody who opens a business, you always gotta look at the long term. Long term. And
to-
you might, if it's a successful business, yeah, you started off with 12.
To tell you the truth, I just want to be there to establish, and then we can be in a building separately. To a building that we can accommodate more students, where we want it. When I'm coming up to 70, I really want to be in another building, not on the second floor, because I spent too much already in the building, and then to turn around, we cannot function there, and school is in a way is open Monday. We were supposed to start waiting for you to give us
But Mr.
some.
Censure, I'm sorry to say this, and it's been the mistake that a lot of applicants do. They go ahead and they listen to the landlord, they listen to the person that they're renting from, and because that person's interest is to make sure that their location, their site is rented. But the person who wants to rent, they should really look at all of the hurdles before making
money.
all of that commitment. And then I look at your letter, it's dated July 25th. You know, it so happened that we have a meeting this month, but we don't meet every month. We meet every other month. And when you're looking at things like that, you've got to give yourself time. I don't want to be negative, and I hear what my colleague is saying, but I do have a concern. I have a great concern, and that may not be with everybody else here, but
I understand.
her motion didn't have a second, so it died for a second. And the attorney could explain what it,
Well, what it means is that it's dead in the water. Now, you have the option to vote against the special exception, and staff has recommended approval, so I would suggest that you vote against it if this is your desire, and indicate the reasons for not, voting against the special exception. At least the applicant will leave here with clarity, even though,
I just have a question, please, Mr. LeBlanc. Is this not part, or will this conflict with the master plan?
The goal of the downtown redevelopment master plan is really to spur redevelopment and economic growth of the city, but also while, promoting, a more walkable and doing, downtown. And then one of the goals, to really have a successful downtown, even though 125th right now is a state road that we have no jurisdiction over, is to really to slow down traffic. And by slowing down traffic, even that may imply, diverting traffic from other streets, so we can make the downtown area more pedestrian friendly. And in a way, and then if you look at, even 8th Avenue, we're trying to make turn that into a really complete street. On complete street, basically meaning that in providing multimodal, transportation, like bicycle lanes, friendly, providing, shades that so the street can be more inviting to the pedestrians. And this is one of the things that could be like one of the nodes, 8th Avenue from North Miami Senior High School to the library, so people can actually walk on the street instead of using, a transportation, mode of vehicle transportation. So in a way, I mean, to have a successful downtown, you want to be able to attract, pedestrian traffic. So I don't know if that answers your question, but this is one of the goals, to make it more friendly by making it attract pedestrian traffic. Then you can enhance, the pedestrian experience. When people visit downtown, they don't want to drive around, but they want to walk around. By bringing the building closer to the streets, and then providing storefronts, provide outdoor seatings, and then this is what would make your downtown successful.
Is 125th the only point of entry?
No.
I'm sorry? 125th is not the only point of entry to that building?
That's the only point of
That's
entry.
the only
Yes,
one.
yes.
Because it's right in the middle.
Yeah.
Also, what is
So
the
there's no
city-
entrance in the back of the
No,
building?
there's no interest in that.
But if you see the picture, it could go through one way and go out the other way.
Right,
You see, right here,
right here.
it didn't come out this way.
On both sides, there's and basically an egress and ingress and egress point.
Right, and so this to me, if the traffic is the point that I think everyone is concerned about, outside of the fact they're adolescents. I mean, if that's the case, this is very similar to the other case of the woman that we just continued her application. Why are we not approving this? I guess I'm trying to
Because
understand.
little children do not get up and walk out of the building on their own. That's why. Because little children are picked up and delivered. These are teenage kids that are going to be teenage kids.
And I understand that he says that they're picked up, but what if for some reason, one day, a child may have an activity or something that he can't go by the bus, but he's fully old enough to go on his own?
So the concern is that they cannot walk along 125th Street? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, what we're saying is that 125th, that stretch, that particular stretch there tends to be,
Congested, I understand what you're
not
saying.
just dangerous,
Dangerous.
because the only light to cross, they have to go down to where, Walgreen is, or go to where the.
And they won't.
And
And our
grown-ups don't.
Listen, our high.
And I've
Okay,
seen
I
this.
would-
I'm not arguing
No,
this point
no,
anymore.
I'm just,
Okay.
but I'm just still appealing to you guys.
Okay, you did.
But may I
Okay.
please? Thank you. What I'm saying is there are students
your
right now
motion.
that go to North Miami Senior High that take the bus. There's a bus, I think it's the G bus right now in that area, that walk around. You understand? We have no control what those kids are doing, and that's in that same area. I'm just trying to, to appeal to you, and I mean, if the applicant were not meeting the requirement, I'm in agreement. And I've gone the way of the board a lot of times. They didn't meet it, I'm sorry, go back, or denied. But they are meeting the requirements. You understand? It is not impacting the plan in a meaningful way, especially not yet. They don't have the capacity of 70. I am, as a business owner, maybe I am sensitive to the fact that even though, yes, it's true, that they should have waited to perhaps make sure that they were approved before they make any improvement, but money has been spent. You know, and again, they have, I know that this is a special exception, but they've met all of their requirements. And if we're concerned about teenagers walking 125th, they do now. There's a high school not too far. There's North Miami not too far.
A middle
There's
school
the
there.
other private school, Lutheran not too far from there, just maybe 135th instead of 125th. And a lot of them take public transportation to go back and forth. I mean, I'm just debating this based on the argument that you brought out. You understand? That I think we're being, in my opinion, just a little bit unfair. I understand our concern for our youth, and I'm very concerned about our youth, you know, but I just wanted that to be on the record.
We still have, anyone that to make any other suggestion, whether
Well, you're,
similar to the other applicant? do they
you are
come-
charged
do you
with the
want
task.
to- No, okay.
And
done.
I just want to make it furthermore, even though I know we've gone against what staff has recommended, and staff has recommended this as well. Just wanted to also point
Okay.
that out. But, okay.
Madam Chair, after hearing all the testimony and all the discussion, this board is charged with approving the application, approving it with conditions, or denying the application.
And Mr. Attorney, in my understanding, if we're denying, we have to state why we're denying. Is that correct?
There are standards, the standards enunciated in the report commencing on page 4 is an analysis, which is, it stems from section 3-504, and those are the standards for approving a special exception. I would urge you to indicate the ones that you feel have not been satisfied this evening, if in fact you're going to deny the special exception.
Well, it fell for lack of second for approval, but I was trying to see if maybe my colleagues would even entertain having the applicant come back, you know, just, what's the word I'm searching for? Continue it, so that we can have them address some of these things that we are concerned about,
To continue?
rather than just flatly denying it.
Yeah, just like to continue.
I can't make a motion,
I
I'm
will-
just
I'll motion
proposing.
that.
Yes.
And I second.
I'm just proposing. Okay, so you made the motion, Mr.
Yes.
Dorville, to
Yes, I did.
continue?
And
Yes.
I
And-
second it.
And you seconded, okay.
And
so
this
that's-
is so that the applicant can come back with,
Uh,
Is what?
Well, our
Yeah.
concern in terms of dealing with the
Traffic.
safety, maybe plans of how they're going to deal with the children and making sure that they're not on the street when, you know, not supposed to, because this whole safety thing is what the issue is for us. Okay, and
The city has a
you'll
plan
come
for
in
it.
with Mr. LeBrun,
Yes,
okay?
okay.
All right, so, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? One opposed. Okay, please note that Ms. Cohen opposed. All right, so you'll come back in October similar to the other applicant prior, but in the meantime, you will speak with Mr. LeBrun, and I know I'm gonna be able to send something by email to you as specifically what, you know. Yeah, okay?
So if I may say
Thank you.
just my last word, please. I have the plans in the office. Can I just bring it as of tomorrow, because I have all the evacuation plans. Everything's already been done, how to evacuate, because fire asked it. Can I just bring that tomorrow? We can help me on something there, because school is open for us next week. We were expecting to get the approval today. We can start next week.
You will have to come back on October and present
In October.
the information that was just requested before this board in a public setting as was done today. So,
Thank you.
good luck.
All right. In our last case, V-8-14, James and Margarita Montes, 12885 North Bay Shore Drive.
Good evening, board members and staff.
Hello.
James Montez, 12885 North Bay Shore Drive.
And Mr. LeBron?
Yes. This is an application for side street setback variance to accommodate an addition to an existing, single-family home that was built in 1957. And it's an L-shaped building now, which features a pool in the back, and also there's a little gazebo. And the applicant, on the side setbacks, you can see in the pictures, has approximately 2855 feet of, side street setbacks, intend to expand the building for additional living space, since, the applicant and their family have outgrown, the existing, current space of the house. And they are applying for variance to provide 7.5 instead of the 15 feet required, per article in 4, division 2, section 4203 of the Land Development Code. Division 6, section 3606 of the LDR. So, we look at, if you have the floor plans, the side plan in front of you. You also have, the pictures, elevations that were provided. And so even though it's an encroachment of about 50%, if it was about 20%, staff could have approved that, administratively. But since it's greater than that, then the 20% required by staff, the Board of Adjustment needs to either approve or deny this application. So the recommendation is made, to approve it, because since it is not that much of an intrusion onto the street, there's actually, existing, landscaping and footprint. This is about 7.5 feet, which is the minimum required on an interior side. And then the applicant will provide, there's already enough palm trees, from that exists, that would kind of, mitigate any impact of that, any impact that would have on the street. And then, if you look around there also, other similar residents, we may have been we have been built with a 2-story, and then which is way within the height requirement of 35 feet of the code. And we figured will not be that much of an intrusion, will not have any negative impact of the value of the surrounding neighborhoods, and then we are recommending approval for it.
Anyone for or against? All right, now, Ms.
Okay.
Boyd, go ahead.
I may have to recuse myself because you were my client one time.
That's correct. It was on a business level.
It was on a business, it had nothing to do with the home, I know, but they have to know this, so.
Thank you, Ms. Cohen, for that disclosure.
Okay,
Yes, I would agree.
okay. Should I sit here anyway?
Yeah, you can
Okay.
Yes, and just,
Just say anything.
I can't say anything.
yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be
No.
terrible, I can't.
All right. Anyone else? Any questions? Discussion? All right. Mr. Modizia?
Nothing here.
So 2000, okay.
Yeah, we purchased in 2000 and have been there since.
And you're trying to make use of a lot of unused space.
Yeah, essentially what's driving the interest is elaborating on what Mr. LeBron had said, is that these homes are from the 1950s. The spaces that these homes typically have are smaller spaces back then when it was built. Our family has grown, and so we're looking to seek, more space in our home, and it's to use the part of the property that has the largest setback, and it's really an area that makes sense because it's unused space. If you look at the site layouts that I've submitted, and looking at the variance, the way that we understand the variance, the setback rules are, what we're asking for is a similar setback that most of the interior homes have. One of the things that we intend to do also is to make sure that it continues to have landscaping that lends itself to the neighborhood to look good, and it doesn't provide anything that would adversely affect our neighbors. In that particular section of the property, there is not a neighbor initially on that side, and so it should not adversely affect any of the neighbors in the area.
Madam Chair, if I may, as a point of order, actually the setbacks in the whole area happens to be 7.5 feet. It's just that 15 feet is required when you're occupying the corner lot. So, but it is generally the 7.5 anyway. I just wanted to put that up,
All right.
which corroborates what the applicant has just stated.
Any other discussion? Someone like to make a motion?
A motion to approve.
Do I have okay. Roll call?
Ms. Phillip,
Yes.
Mr. Mondesir,
Yes.
Ms. Cohen,
Recuse.
Ms. Estime Irvin,
Yes.
Mr. Dorville.
Yes.
Beautiful. You've been approved. Good luck.
Thank you.
I would like to clarify the record on a comment that I made to you, Ms. Cohen, concerning the opaque fence.
Yeah.
Regarding the first applicant that you've deferred, an opaque fence in this area would probably be permissible
It would.
because it's not in the residential district. It happens to be in the commercial. So there is a possibility. I'm just putting that out there. I'd like to I went back to the code just to make sure, and it turns out, okay, they're illegal in residential, not necessarily illegal in commercial districts. So,
Okay.
but that will be clarified with the applicant upon her return. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Or wooden or CBS wall, whichever.
the
you
gentleman,
We're done.
We're
with
done.
you.
You
You're
can
okay.
approve.
Oh, I'm just here listening. Thank you very much.
No problem.
All right.
We'll-
Any old business?
No, quickly for staff before we adjourn.
Wait a minute, I didn't ask for new business. New business? Now you can go.
I know
That's
we
right.
had 3 applicants this evening for schools. How is that going to affect the whole downtown master plan as far as attracting new businesses that may request liquor licenses? Because if we were approving schools, then we're pretty much putting ourselves in a box as far as attracting businesses. You guys have.
But schools still are permitted use in the downtown.
Yeah, but that's not
the
question.
No, but how is that, from a land use standpoint, I don't have no authority to say, say, you cannot approve because your school, you're going to affect, maybe future businesses that may be coming that will require a liquor
I used
license.
to think that in terms of, the storefront churches and all that.
Yeah.
But, and I understand the landlords, they want their place rented, but they don't buy into the overall plan that the city may want to develop for, the commercial areas.
And right across the street from the school that we had put on continuance is an area that should be developed into a restaurant, bar area, because it's very open and it's very parking and everything else. And we should, and we're not gonna be able to do it because of the school. And it violates everything that we're bothering to try to do for this area.
But the plan
And
doesn't
we can
trump
turn them
that.
down for
'Cause
just that
if it's-
reason, I think.
The master plan, the LDRs, these rules
Mm-hmm.
have got to mirror the master plan. The master plan is the strategic plan.
Mm-hmm.
The LDRs tell you, indicate, and show you how you're going to make that strategic plan a reality. So for now, the code's saying, yeah, school is okay, where if you look at the master plan, it may not say, it's not,
Yeah.
you know, we want another better mix, a different mix here.
If it is going to affect. yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
We
it's
just
gonna affect
recently,
it.
in fact, we
Yeah.
just recently passed an ordinance disallowing hair salons and disallowing
Spacing.
dollar stores
Yeah.
occupying
So let's
the
disallow more schools.
so the code has to reflect the master plan. Otherwise, the master plan is your vision. The LDR shows you how you're gonna make that
Exactly.
vision a reality, and it has to mirror, And in this case, you bring up a very good point. We're gonna have to take a look at the code and make some tweaks to it.
And
Downtown area?
And this is one of the points that we've made before the master plan was even approved by the council. They had changed, they amended, the comprehensive plan to allow, higher, greater densities and heights in the downtown, and then to allow mixed use to happen. Then the master plan could happen. Because the master plan is still a policy. It doesn't have any teeth. It's not a land development regulation. You still have to go by what the comp plan and the LDR say. And then basically this is why you can mention any policy, any study that has been done, but the land development regulation is what really would stand in the court of, as the city attorney would have.
Then the
Agree
school
with
should have been turned down.
Well, that's why my concern is the
Yeah.
fact that those two mixes don't
It doesn't.
They're not compatible, and that's why, because the master plan is looking at 5, 10, 15, 20 years, into the
That's how you
future.
think.
The LDRs are stuck yesterday, they're
Yeah.
stuck into yesterday, and so the thing is, how can you say okay to a school, and then you open up the master plan and you're looking
Yeah.
at cafes? Well, you
Right.
can't put a cafe because they're gonna sell liquor, and guess
Right.
what? You just allowed a school in there. Now that cafe that you wanted to open there, in open air,
So can
has to
I-
be 1,500 feet
Can I
away
make
from
a
the school.
suggestion from here on in? When they come to you, say, don't bother, don't waste your money. Let's
That's
We-
fine.
I
we-
mean, you can't do that.
Yeah, when you do
But
that,
we
it's
can
by
do it.
changing, tweaking the code to.
Yeah, we have to
to
tweak
How
the
do we
disallow.
code.
get them
Yeah,
to
how do
tweak
we
the
do?
code?
Yeah, because it's ridiculous.
It took us forever to get that thing done with the docks. And the fences were the ones that came before. But now, we really need to do something.
No, I mean,
And-
like the deputy city attorney just mentioned, there has been a cluster of, beauty salon, tax offices, and the city just
And
amended.
schools, now we have schools on
and-
now
125th
So
Street.
that may be another
Right.
use that you may not see fit for the downtown.
Right.
You not, implement the vision of the downtown master plan. This can be done, and then the staff can pass an ordinance, the council, restricting those type of use within that downtown.
Even
So
when
one
you
thing
slam
that
the
his
brakes,
school was gonna
even when you slam the brakes on a particular use,
Right. For the-
you can't oust that use. They're grandfathered in.
They grant that.
So the fact that a code was just written, passed, adopted, to disallow certain businesses within the business,
Yeah,
the
but if
downtown
they're
business,
already there,
the
you
ones that are
can't-
there can remain there. It's not until they sell that business
Cease to
that,
exist, or they
because now
cease
they
to
become
exist.
legally non-conforming. So even when you apply the brakes, it doesn't mean that the vehicle is gonna stop on a dime. It's not gonna happen. So,
So if a beauty parlor owner decides to sell her business to someone else,
It's no longer grandfathered.
it's
Right.
no longer
It's no
grandfathered
longer
in.
grandfathered.
And are we doing that with
Now, the
schools
change
too?
of ownership?
well, a change of ownership is not necessarily a change
just
of,
cease to
yeah.
exist
It has to
for
be
6 months.
abandoned for 180
6
days.
months.
Or a change in use. So if you go from a hair salon, I'm using that as
To a
just an
barber
example, or a barber shop, and then you sell it to someone who's going to open up an art store or something.
Yeah.
They
But
can't
of
come
course,
back
they
and
can't
s-
come
and-
back
and-
and want it to be a beauty parlor. Okay. That I understand. All right.
How about
I
we
mean,
burn
that
them
can be
down?
addressed, there's some other.
When did they pass that ordinance with far as the beauty
April?
salon and the tax?
That was like April.
That was back in
I'm
April, right?
excited about that.
Yeah.
That was much needed.
Oh, but that's-
But you'll see them still open because they have a constitutional. They've been
Yeah.
grandfathered in.
I mean, just like, the tattoo place that we have, which is no longer permitted, in the city. But this one has
The
been
one on
exist-
125th?
On 25th. But we're watching this one closely because, you know, it has been closed because there was a
Yeah,
fire.
but it was burnt down, yeah.
So, I mean, that can, if this is operation for more than 180 days, they lose the use.
Well, there's
I don't know if
certain
they're coming
exceptions
back.
to
There's
that,
certain
but
exceptions, exactly. They may lose.
never
the use.
say never, yeah, but, yeah.
Well, they can come back and say, well, it was not my fault
Act of God.
because
It was
it
active,
was
yeah.
circumstances beyond my control, so,
Exactly.
yeah.
So how much leeway do we actually have? If we were to turn this guy down, then that, for the
would've been
school,
it.
that
You
would've been it.
you would look at these standards upon which
I
you were
looked at
going
it. There
to
was 2 out of
deny.
5 that
And that's,
violated.
If you-
and,
if you
and
choose
these
to do
standards
something, I
are
guess.
based, these standards are
The
based,
closest one was number 5.
Number 5.
That you could, yeah.
and you're not required to have any number.
Of the city.
Yeah, the variance, you need 4 out of 6.
That's for the variance, but not a
this
special
one, you can say,
exception.
you can use the 5th one, it's on a suitable use
It's
for
not-
It was
the.
unsuitable.
Yes,
Yeah, that was it. It was unsuitable.
Yeah, I put F, which is proposed special will constitute appropriate use in the area, and I had, there is appropriate provision for access facility adequate.
Oh, and then they didn't have enough parking.
I don't
They
know.
have no
they have
parking.
No,
60
parking's
they
an
have
issue.
60.
Parking's
No,
fine.
no, not the school, the teenage school.
Yeah, they add up to
60.
59
Yeah,
to 60.
they're okay
They're
with
up
the
60.
But they only need
Well,
15, they
yeah.
need
They
parking.
need, how many
okay.
per,
15 they need.
well, 70 children. There's
Well,
70.
No, no,
drive.
no,
How do you
it's
know
based
that?
on the
They're
square
Ah,
16
footage.
that's
years of
true.
age. They're 16 years
No,
of age. They're driving.
No, but the code again, it requires, you know, 15
I'm gonna
parking
do
for that
some
square
research
footage
in terms
building.
of how the
Wow.
Department of
It's
Education.
based on the square footage,
I'm
not on your
Okay,
students.
I gotta go because I have to.
Well,
I
the
gotta go.
applicant, first of all, the applicant has to satisfy
Yeah,
the standards. It's their burden to satisfy the standards, and the standards has to be certified in a manner in which, as it states here, that are necessary and in furtherance of protecting the public health, safety, and welfare. In other words, if you feel that's not being established, then you have every reason to deny an application. Just for that, you know.
All right.
So
well,
you're in the right
as
path.
long as
I mean-
they can't come back to me and say,
any,
okay, go ahead.
any other new business or old business? Motion to adjourn,
Adjourn, motion.
second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye, okay, I gotta go
Nice seeing
babysit.